Hello, and welcome to SpeechGoods, where we talk about money, mindset, private practice, business, all within the realm of the speech language pathology field. I am your host, financial enthusiast, and fellow speech language pathologist, Danny Augustine. Today on the show, we have Allie Haas, PT, DPT, AKA she's a physical therapist and totally rocks it. So little caveat, this is the first time that I'm actually going to be interviewing a physical therapist for the show. So this is pretty exciting. So anyways, let's get back to Allie. So Allie, she's worked mainly in outpatient manual therapy in a private practice setting. She talks about how she loves what she did, but she has this little voice in her head that knew there had to be a better way than being sick and tired of being sick and tired. So she jumped into an opportunity with a network marketing company and became a full-on network marketing professional and now a lifestyle entrepreneur. Allie wants everyone to know that if you feel stuck, like there has to be more, maybe it's not network marketing for you, but maybe you need to just follow that tug. And so much about what we talk about in this episode is about that very, very statement. We get into some really cool nitty-gritty about how she actually started her physical therapy career with her dream job and how she over time realized that she wanted more than just a clinical role, even though she loved the field of physical therapy. She learned how to leverage her time with her network marketing business. I know a lot of you have questions about network marketing, so she's going to be answering all of those in this episode. We talk about owning our time and preventing burnout and just all of the things. I think you're really going to enjoy this. So let's get to the interview. Hello, Allie. How are you doing today?
Fabulous.
Love it. So excited to have you on. Everybody's heard your bio. You are the official first PT on the SpeechGoods podcast. We've had an OT, we've had two OTs, we've had a dentist. Now we finally got our first PT. I told you that whenever I was like low-key, hey, can I record us having a conversation and post it on the internet? But anyways, everybody just heard your awesome bio. And the reason I wanted to have you on was actually like, you like slid up, we slid up in my DMs and then we just like started having fun conversations and I was like, we need to talk. I was like, I need to record our conversation. So you just have some really unique the way that you structured your life as a PT. I know that you do a lot of traveling and you're just I love that the situation that you've created for yourself is just a very out of the box thinking. And I really, really like that. And I want people to know that something like that is a thing, that people like you exist. So can you tell us a little bit about what makes you and PT journey unique, Allie?
Yes. And I just have to say, I don't know how I stumbled upon your podcast the first time or your Instagram, which led me to your podcast. And I am like so interested in finances and budgeting, but investing and like making your money work for you. And I didn't even know you were a speech therapist when I first started following you because I just loved what you were talking about with money because I don't think anyone talks about that. Like I literally knew nothing. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have followed this girl like 5 years ago. I would be so much better off in my life. So, and then I found out you were a speech pathologist and I was like, oh, therapy girls, like we got to stick together. So I have loved following you, listening to your podcast. And I love that you bring on different disciplines too, because I think we're all connected and the same, but different at our own right. But what kind of got me started in physical therapy, I was the most injured teenager that there ever was. And so I spent a lot of time with physical therapists and I knew that was like a pretty legit job and it was going to make a decent income. Went to school, did all the things, got my career. And what I loved about school was, you did an internship for 6, 8, 10 weeks, and then you like went to the next place and you started something different. And then you got, by the end of that internship, you would get kind of bored and then you'd be like on to the next place. And so when I started my career as a physical therapist, it was in my dream job. Like, I mean, if I could have like manifested the dream physical therapy job, it would have been where I worked. It was a privately owned outpatient physical therapy clinic focused on manual therapy. I was working with some of the smartest physical therapists that I'd ever met. They teach for their own continuing ed course. I was getting continuing ed out the yin yang, free continuing ed because I could take it all it was just insane, the opportunity to learn in the clinic that I was at. So like people would be like, oh my gosh, isn't it like so hard taking all those classes? But I was like, I'm an achiever. So I like always wanted to take more and more and more. Well, I worked there for about 3 months, and I'd already taken like maybe 5 continuing ed courses. And I started to get this feeling in my stomach, like it was time to do something different. And I was like, maybe it's just because normally it'd be time to go to the next internship. And so I kind of like shoved that voice down because it made me really uncomfortable, because I was in an awesome clinic with awesome PTs making okay money. But this little voice just like kept coming back up. Like, is this what you're going to do for the rest of your life? Like, are you going to be in this clinic? And I just remember like looking outside, and it was like such a pretty day. And I was like watching the cars drive by, and I was like, I want to be in one of those cars. Like, I want to be outside where the people are. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how many people go to school, make good grades, go to professional school because they want to take care of people and they want to make a difference. And then they get there and they're like, this is it. Not to mention, I had been slapped in the face with a mortgage and my student loan payment. My husband and I were engaged at the time. We were paying for our own wedding. That's expensive. And our student loan payment combined was more than our mortgage payment. So I was like a slave to my finances, like you always talk about. I had no extra, I had no wiggle room. And I'm like, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. Like, I thought doctors, or at least physical therapists, should be able to like go on a trip or buy a nice thing for themselves. Not that I really am like a materialistic person, but I was just like, no one told me how much it cost to go to school and then how much I was going to make when I get out. And so that's what kind of sent me on this journey of how can I maximize my time while making my money work for myself, or leverage my time in doing something else. And so that's what kind of opened the doors for network marketing for me. I became an independent consultant with a company called Arbonne. It's a health and wellness company. We focus on holistic eating, anti-inflammatory type methods of eating. I got to coach people through a nutrition program. I got to coach other people how to coach other people. And it literally blew the doors wide open for me to become an entrepreneur and kind of pursue something other than physical therapy, but was in the same realm.
That is so cool. So are you using, like, do you find you're using your physical therapy skills in this job? And well, not job, in this entrepreneurial role?
Yes. So what I tell people is like physical therapy school and being a physical therapist like made me who I am. Not only do I think that getting wellness advice from a health and wellness professional is always a plus, but I do think that building rapport, listening more than you speak, building relationships with people, because in the healthcare profession, like, I am not knocking anyone, but physical therapists, speech pathologists, and occupational therapists have way more time with their patients to get to know them, like the ins and outs of their life. Like, doctors don't have that amount of time. They have like 5 minutes, And so as a physical therapist, I learned a lot about my patients. I became friends with all different kinds of people. I could talk to any kind of person. And so all of those skills relate over here with what I've done building my business.
I think that's super valuable. And I'm glad you said that, because in one of the recent episodes, I don't remember who I was talking to. I talk a lot. But we talked about how, it was with Lauren Herman, who is an SLP, a med SLP, and she's turned into a copywriter using her SLP skills and our communication skills to in a copywriting marketing lens. And what we actually had a great conversation about something similar, where it was like these skills that we have as therapists can be applied way beyond the therapy room. Like, it can even be applied outside of speech, like outside of speech therapy or physical therapy. Like, you don't even have to have a physical therapy business or a speech therapy business, but just like dealing with people and communicating with people, like individualizing things. I think like, I don't think everyone knows that not everybody can do that. Like, that's a thing, and that's a skill.
And communicating with upset people in, dire situations. I mean, most of the time when they're in therapy, like, they're not usually, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, their families are stressed, they're stressed. They might be going through like a medical, a really big pivotal point in their life. And you have to kind of be that person that's like right there with them when they maybe get bad news or get good news or make a huge step or like an accomplishment. And so it's learning how to be a good communicator in all different kinds of situations that, you're right, not very many people have those skills.
No, like if you've worked with the public
I always say I was a bartender and like waitress in college. And I was like, I thought that prepared me for so much because you have to deal with all different kinds of people, you know, when you do that. But physical therapy, you know, just meeting people in different parts of their life and what's going on in their life, it's way different.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like a lot of times, like you're probably dealing with people who may or may not even want to see you. Usually if you're the bartender, people want to see you. Like,
True.
you know,
True.
People want you like, hey, come here.
Totally. Or they
Yes.
they already come in with like some form of distrust. Like I've tried this before and it didn't work, or like, you know, and so, and I actually deal with that a lot with my health and wellness business. Like there's lots of stuff out there on the internet that you can buy that doesn't work, or, you know, or it does work and you didn't use it right or whatever. And so like there's a little bit of a stigma around network marketing and being a network marketing professional. And I think that there's kind of a stigma sometimes around therapy, especially when you're going to an outpatient clinic where you're paying high dollar to go. And people are like, well, I've already been to the doctor and I've already been to a therapist and it didn't work. Like, what are you going to do for me? Same thing is true in my health and wellness business, where people are like, well, I've done all of these programs and I've used products before. Like, what are you going to do for me? Basically.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's a great point. So tell us a little bit. So you've told us a little bit about like where you came from and where you're at. Can you tell us like what's your work looking like now? Like even like take us through like a typical week for you. Cause we were literally, before we hit record, we were both just like, I could not go back to like a 5-day 9-to-5 gig like ever again. Cause we've ruined ourselves. So tell us a little bit about like what your week looks like, work and schedule and whatnot.
So when I first started being a physical therapist, 3 months into being a PT, I started my network marketing business. And as a national vice president in a network marketing business, it's not typical. The results aren't typical. You can find out what is earnings.arbonne.com, just throwing that in there. I'm not to hide anything, but I built my network marketing business alongside a 40-hour work week. And I did that for over 2 years. I kept working full-time as a PT and building my network marketing business, like on my lunch break, before work, after work, whatever. I mean, sometimes it was really early mornings and really late nights, but I knew that it was like short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And so after 2 years of doing that, I walked away from full-time physical therapy and I took a job as a PRN physical therapist. And if you're in the therapy world, you know what PRN means. Basically, you give your availability to the hospital or place that you work, and then you get matched with a schedule. So for the last 1.5 years almost, I have been working PRN, which is like the life. When you go from like being burnt out as a physical therapist and like, it's just the grind and it's not your patients and it's not your coworkers. It's just like, you want to be outside where the people are and you want to work when you want to work, or you want to work. You don't have to go to work. You want to go to work. Like I had such a, like, every morning I woke up and I was like, oh, I have to go to work today. And it wasn't my patients. And I loved where I worked in private practice. It was just something about the fact that I had to go. Now I get to make my own schedule as a physical therapist. And now I'm like, I get to go to work today. Like I get to go like, and my coworkers are always like, why are you so happy when you're here? And I'm like, probably because I'm only here like 2 or 3 days a week. And like, I love serving people, but I got to pick which days this week I get to work. And so just owning your time in that aspect is like a total game changer. But normally I work like 2 to 3 days a week at the hospital, and I work my network marketing business like 15-ish, 20 hours a week. I actually just kind of took on this new opportunity. It's not totally set in stone yet, but that is going to be, I love virtual. Like I love podcasting, and I love building a business on my own time from wherever I am, you know, like the flexibility to be on the lake while selling a healthy living set or while helping someone do a coaching call. And then I turn my phone off and then I go back to being on the lake or whatever I'm doing. Like that to me is my dream life, where I can like be with my family or doing what I want and just being like, oh, hold on, I need 15 minutes to go do this. So now I'm like, I've been craving that with my physical therapy or my physical therapy job. So I'm getting ready to join a startup company that is going to be an app-based physical therapy service where someone would download an app and they would get access to a physical therapist. You would pay a monthly fee, and then everything would be done face-to-face like this through the app, and their home exercise program will be in the app, and you message your therapist back and forth any time of the day. And then when I can check my phone, I message you back. And so it is like right up my alley. And I literally manifested this, I think, because I wanted to start my own business like this. And there's just, well, owning your own business, like there's just a lot of liability, there's a lot of laws. And I'm like, man, I'd have to hire someone to do all this. And this opportunity just like stumbled upon my lap, and I was like, wow, I'm going to be able to own my time as a PT and as an entrepreneur and doing what I want when I want. So I was just telling her before we started, I have not worked 5 days in a row in over a year and a half since I worked PRN. And today is day 4 of 5 because somehow my schedule worked out like that. And I'm just like, no, never again. And you're probably listening to this thinking, Allie, I work 5 days a week or more every week. Like, shut up. And I'm like, I totally get you. Like, I hate me too for saying it. But when you get used to working 2 or 3 days a week, yeah, you just never go back. I'll never go back.
And so are you doing therapy 2 to 3 days a week? And then you're doing your network marketing thing 2 to 3 days a week? Or no?
So I do therapy 2 to 3 days a week typically, but it just so happened that my 3 days this week or last week was right next to my 2 days this week, which never happens. But my network marketing business, I work every day, just when I have a sec, I mean, like there's like I never sit down and do Arbonne or my network marketing company for 8 hours a day. Like that just does not happen. Like I maybe sit down for an hour a day and like work at my desk for an hour, but otherwise it's like answering a message, picking up the phone to call someone, hosting an event, or something like that. So it's not like, 2 days a week I do this and that's it. It's kind of just like interspersed throughout my week.
So are you doing like, and I know this is probably company specific, but I know what, I'm trying to think of what I would want to know, like as somebody listening out there, like, are you doing one-on-one coaching? Is that what you're doing a lot of with like this particular network marketing company?
So I coach people through either a 30-day healthy living lifestyle change where you swap out some of the foods that you were eating for a healthier option, how to incorporate our products. But I mean, it's mindset, it's how much water are you drinking? It's, are you moving your body? When are you going to bed? When are you getting up? Like all things that go into wellness, not just like drink this product and then you're going to get your result. It's like literally looking at the whole person, which is what I love. That's what physical therapists do. But also it's about, there's other people building this business with me. And so sometimes I do a coaching call with them. So like right before this podcast, I had a call with a girl who's interested in doing network marketing. And so I sat down for 15 minutes and answered her questions right here, like on Zoom. So it just depends what that day is going to look like. But the cool thing is I get to pick, when I do my coaching calls, and I get to pick when I reach out to my healthy living clients, which it's usually in the morning. And there's an app for that. Like I have my messages scheduled to my healthy living clients. So I don't have to get up at 7 every day and write out a bunch of texts. Like I pre-program them per the person, like on Sundays. So it's not like that takes me an hour in the morning. It takes me like an hour on Sunday to schedule it for the week.
Got you. Okay, cool. And then you're just kind of designing that how you want it. So it's not like you're in this particular setting. You're not trading time for dollars. You're creating income in other ways. Yes.
And I love that because when, as therapists, like you punch the time clock and you trade your time for a paycheck. And I wanted to find a way that I didn't have to give up more time to make more money. And that's what, so many people have that lifestyle. Like if you want to make more money, you have to work more, do more, be away from home more. And like when I was kind of going on this journey of like, oh my gosh, life is expensive. Adulting sucks. I can't believe this is what my loans are for what I make as a therapist. Before I started network marketing, I was looking at a PRN physical therapy job to work on the weekends. And it like made me physically ill to think about working 40 hours and then Saturday and Sunday and then 40 hours. And I was just like there has to be a better way for the people who are willing to go out and look for it. And so I was like, I refuse to trade time for money forever. And so with network marketing, you do work, and it does take time. But eventually, when I punch the time clock at the hospital today, there's clients ordering from my website. There's other people on my team selling products, or, talking to people about what this business has done for them while I'm punching the time clock. I'm not thinking about Arvon. My phone's in my bag, and then, so my business is going on. So that's when you can really start to leverage your time and your money, really.
That is awesome. Okay. All right. So, secrets out the bag. When people come on the podcast, they fill out a form before they come on the podcast, whatever, judge me. But anyways, so in that form, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Cause you mentioned that like at first, like you weren't into the network marketing and how like you were kind of like, I'm not sure. So can you tell us about kind of what changed your thoughts and your minds on it?
So yeah, I actually said absolutely heck no. Like I wasn't even a nice girl about it. Like I was kind of a mean girl about it. Like I would never do network marketing. Like I'm going to be a doctor of physical therapy, and therefore I'm going to be here. And the people that sell like lipstick to their mom's friends are like down here. And that's really what I thought. And I am allowed to say that because I had to eat my words. Like, because now I'm the person that, I sell lipstick and protein and energy drinks. Like I sell all of those things. But what changed for me was I had a point in my life where I was like, okay, I don't have enough money to start my own business. I don't have the knowledge on how to start my own business. I don't even know how to make more money. This was like something that someone said, like, if you follow my lead and you do these things and you let me help you, then you can start to earn money. And it only costs you $49 to start your Arbonne business. And so I was like, okay, I can spend $49 and I can work hard and not quit and follow the leader. I knew I could do all of those things. And so when I first started Arbonne, I started reading personal growth books. And so I used to make fun of people who read self-help books. Like I used to mock John Maxwell, which now I'm like, if I ever got the opportunity to meet John Maxwell, like my life would be made. Like I started reading and filling my mind with things that make you grow and make you think about, I started reading books that entrepreneurs were putting out. I started reading books about people who conquered the naysayers. And then it just like lit a spark in me that I want to be that for someone else. Like, I don't know if I'll write a book or start a podcast someday or stand on a stage and be a motivational speaker, but like that changes people's lives. It did for me. Like I started to be like, okay, well, Karen over here, like doesn't understand what I'm doing, but she maybe doesn't have this set of issues. Like maybe she wants to work 9 to 5. I don't. Like I'm going to find a way out of it. I'm going to figure it out, but it never would have happened without just kind of diving into a personal growth journey. I mean, and I started with like my girl, Rachel Hollis, like Girl Wash Your Face. Like that was my first, personal growth book. And it led me to the next one, which led me to the next one. And I mean, this year already, I've read like almost 30 books in 1 year because it's just part of my day now.
So can you tell us a little bit so like, we know, like you got some like out of the box thinking and out of the box ways of doing things, which is why I wanted to like have you on the show. But how did you make that transition, especially when it was this idea of like, when you realized a 9 to 5 is not for me and transitioning to something else? Like, how did you reconcile that for yourself? Because I know sometimes that can be really hard, especially when we've worked so hard to get to that 9 to 5 as therapist. And like you said, like you did the thing. Now what?
So I have learned a lot about myself as I read more books. Like if you're on the Enneagram, like I'm obsessed with that. Like, but I used to wear what I did as a badge of honor. Like I am this, I work in the #1 physical therapy clinic in the Northland of Kansas City, badge of honor. Like I work in this clinic, like I just wore all of those things as a badge of honor. But when you took that away, it was very hard. And no one took it from me. I left. But so many people question me, like, what are you going to do when this business of yours fails? Well, I guess I'll figure it out. But I took off the badge of honor, and I felt when I finally did, and I went and worked PRN, and no one put that badge on me but myself. Like my employers, like where I used to work, they were fabulous. Like it was not anything about the pressures I had at that job or the we got to see patients one-on-one, which like doesn't happen in outpatient private practice physical therapy. Like I was in a really good situation, but I was just like, I knew that that was not where I was supposed to be forever. And so it was really hard to take that badge of honor off. And then other people to be like, I can't believe you're leaving this like really great thing for this. Like, you're not even using your degree, or like going to go over here and do this. I'm like, well, I'm still going to use my degree. Like I had multiple people say, you're going to hang up your career for this network marketing company. And I'm like, I'm not hanging up my career. But like, if you ask me in like 5 years from now, if I want to still be working PRN one weekend a month at a hospital, or just pursuing being an entrepreneur, network marketing, my new app-based physical therapy, like I'm going to tell you in 5 years, I'm not going to be punching a time clock. I'm going to be working virtually 100% of the time, owning my time. And so once I kind of got over that, like they don't see my vision. That's mine to see and make come true. And so then I was like, okay, like I can do this. And I was scared to lose like a full-time salary. And what if I don't get enough shifts over here? But you just kind of figure it out.
Yeah. So, and were you married at the time? Like whenever you made that transition?
Yes. So we got married in December of 19, and I left in August of 2020 in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah. So like, how did the pandemic affect any of that at all?
Um, it affected physical therapy a little, but my business honestly grew. My online business, I think,
Because people were at home, right?
and
Like, I
people
guess
were shopping online, and
yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, it was really scary.
So tell us a little bit about, okay, so for your typical week, you probably do like, I know you don't have like set days, like I work on my network marketing business for 8 hours, but you do have 2 to 3 days of therapy a week. You said you probably work on your network marketing business anywhere from like 10 to 20 hours a week. And are you guys doing traveling? Like, what is this sort of, it sounds like you made all these decisions because you wanted to build the life that you wanted. So can you tell us like, what is that life that you wanted look like?
So yeah, it's being outside where the people are. That's what I always say. But my husband and we get to travel all the time. Basically, I was just looking at like my Southwest thing the other day, and I'm like, between now and the end of January, I'm going to be in a warm state 5 times. Like I live in Missouri, it's cold here. And so it just gives you the flexibility to, okay, this week I'm going to work Monday, Tuesday, and I'm going to get on a plane and, go to Alabama, go to Florida, go where we want to go. My husband has a lot of flex. He was a teacher when I began my physical therapy journey. When I started Arbonne, he was a teacher. He did not have any flexibility. I mean, he got the summers off, but there was just no flexibility. And so he actually has a sales job now. And so he has a lot more flexibility too. He has to show up for his clients and, have appointments and stuff, but he does get to own his own time a lot differently than he did as a teacher. So it does give us a lot more room to travel and do the things that we want to do.
Right. So how many times a year would you say you're a adult traveler? I don't know. Or maybe it's easier. How many times every month or every 6 months or something?
So I would say, the pandemic kind of wrenched it a little bit, but this is the other thing, like we have the companion pass with Southwest. So we can literally be like, okay, we're leaving on a Friday and coming back on Sunday. His airplane ticket is free with the companion pass. So it's just like so much easier to travel to with that. But I would say that we travel in the summer, we're gone every single weekend to the lake. So, that's like a 4.5-hour drive, but that's like our happy place. So like from mid-April till mid-September, we're gone every single weekend. Sometimes that's on Thursday, sometimes that's on Friday, sometimes that's on Wednesday.
Do y'all have a lake house? Do y'all own a lake house?
So we have a boat and a dock and a piece of land that is like on my vision board with like a huge lake house that overlooks the prettiest view ever. The land is ours. We just don't have a house on it yet. It's not been a good time to build in the last.
Nope.
We bought that in October of 2020. Like right before I feel like everything just got like ridiculously expensive as far as like lumber and all that stuff. So we haven't built anything yet. And we're kind of waiting to let all that dust settle, but his parents have a place over there. So when we go every weekend, it's right across the street from our lake property too. It's like, we have the same dock, like the most perfect situation for us to eventually have a family and have a lake house right next to my in-laws and do all the things. Like that is like a vision, like a dream inside of a dream inside of a dream that is little by little coming true.
So you have like, you make a vision board, like you do that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about, because I know that this has really changed, this whole experience has changed your mindset on wealth and money and time. Can you tell us a little bit about that transition for you and how that has played out like in your day-to-day decisions with money and wealth and time?
So first, with the vision board, I will say that like what you think about, you bring about, like what you focus on grows, what you speak over yourself is what you're going to start to believe. And it's going to trigger your thoughts, which is going to trigger your actions, which is going to create your reality. So like, I am a huge believer in like positive affirmations, positive self-talk. If you start to have a bad thought, like I literally, like my coworkers will literally hear me say cancel. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, I'm just canceling out my bad thoughts. Like they literally joke with me because sometimes I audibly have to be like, stop it. Like, stop thinking that way. But like the background on my phone is my vision board. Like I have a vision board in my office, vision board on my phone. So every time I pick up my phone, it's like my dream kitchen and my dream lake house. And like what you focus on, it grows. And I've literally manifested my way this far. You just gotta, keep on going. But the transition with wealth and money and time is the most precious thing we'll ever have. And it's worth way more than money to me. And so when I first started my network marketing business and I started to become successful and I had not more money than I knew what to do with, but more money than I did before I did it. And like, I was paying off my student loans really fast and, we were able to buy a boat and my results are not typical, earnings.armon.com, but like, I was like, okay, there has to be a way for our money to work for us and not against us. And like, I knew I didn't want to take out more debt. I was smart enough in that, like, we're going to pay off what we have. Like we paid cash for the boat, different things like that. But then I was finally like, okay, there has to be a better way. And we actually hired a financial planner who has rocked my world in all the best ways. My husband too. So my husband had like a very Dave Ramsey mindset about money. Like, you don't invest until you've paid off all your debt and you snowball. If I don't even know all the things, I was literally like a budgeting, like ignorance is the word. Like I just didn't know anything about it other than if my bank account every month was going up instead of going down at the end of the month, I was doing good. Like that's how I was.
Yeah.
So like when I met my financial planner for the first time, he's like, well, what are your fixed expenses? Crickets. Like I couldn't even tell him.
What is that?
He's like, well, what's your budget for like your groceries and entertainment? Like crickets. Like there was nothing. I didn't know anything about how I spent my money, which is ridiculous. And so then we started to kind of dive into like where we spend our money, how we spend our money and all those things. So I always want to be the person, like, if you look at me, I do not want you to know what I'm worth or, anything like that, because we're investing so much money so that we don't have to work until we're 60. And that was the other thing that like triggered this whole, there has to be a better way, is like people go to school for 21 years or 22 years, 23 years until they graduate college. So I guess you don't go when you're a baby, but like you go to school until you're like 21 to 23 years old. And then you get out and then you get a job and hopefully you start putting into a 401k, but maybe not. And you're trying to save enough money to retire. But then when people retire, like, do you want to retire on a budget and just never get to leave home and never get to do the things you want to do? Or like, I also didn't want to be the person that waited until I retired to do the traveling that I want to do, because when you get old, like you're not promised that. So I wanted to kind of have a balance between let's do the things we want to do, but also invest our money so that when we're 50, 45, my husband always says 40. I'm like, I don't think we're there yet, buddy. But like when we're 45 or 50, like we can retire and not have to worry about, which it's crazy to me what financial planners know. Like it's so crazy to me, Danny, what you know about budgeting and that you're pretty self-taught, aren't you?
Yeah. I just geeked out and like read all the money books.
I should have been reading money books because I was just spending my money. And anyways, it's better now. It's way better now.
That is why I'm not saying to outsource your money, but that's when you just you hire someone, you pay them for their time and like you saved your time. Like I just personally enjoyed geeking out about it, but not everyone enjoys geeking out about it. So I'm assuming you probably wouldn't have enjoyed geeking out about it. So you just outsourced it and you saved yourself time.
Well, I was like, if I spent as much time as I need to geek out about it or learn about it, I'm taking my time away from building my business, which is what gave me the money that I have now to invest in something else. So I was like, I would rather pay this person to do it for me. He's really good at it. He knows network marketing really well. He knows our business model. He knows it. And I was like, I'm just going to, and whenever I saw after a year of doing that, what you can earn by just putting your money in the right places, I was shocked. I didn't have a 401k. I didn't have a Roth. I didn't have an IRA. I didn't have anything. My husband's had like 403bs and 401ks. He's had all kinds of stuff.
Being a teacher.
So he was, a college soccer coach, and then he was a teacher, and then he got into the sales job, and now he's on his like 4th job since we've been together, and he just like keeps rolling it over. I do not understand, but I had never had one because where I worked full time for 2 years, they didn't start putting into a 401k until you'd been there for 19 months. And so I was only there for a little over 2 years. And so I just started getting that money, and I had already hired the financial planner by that point. So he was already putting it in all the right places, but yeah.
Well, and I think I'm so glad that you said that, because there's so many people like they just don't know. And I think that's what ends up happening is like when we're like in our 20s, and I'm just assuming, most of us that get started in this career, we're probably in our mid to late 20s, most of us. I mean, obviously there's some people who came as a second career. Actually, one of the girls, not girls, she's a woman that I went to grad school with. She used to be a banker and did SLP as a second career. And I'm actually going to have her on the podcast to interview her, because she's the one that told me that whenever I was negotiating for my first salary, she was like, Louis Vuitton doesn't go on sale. That's what she told me. So she's going to come on the podcast too. But I think it's so important. Most of us, we're not thinking about retirement in our 20s at all. But the irony of that is the best time to be thinking about it, because you can start investing early. And I think we just, especially as therapists, a lot of us, I mean, we want to save the world one therapy session at a time. And like, it takes an incredible amount of focus to get through a speech therapy or a physical therapy, to get into and get through a grad program. So I think we were just and I know that's how I was, like, I was just so tunnel vision for so long. In undergrad, it was like, I have to get A's, I have to get all A's because it's so competitive to get into graduate school. And then you get into graduate school, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I just have to like survive. And then you get out into the workforce, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, what's happening. And you just
now you have all
like don't think about that stuff until, from what I've been reading and seeing, people maybe like their mid-30s, they start realizing like, oh, I don't want to do this for the next like 40 years. Like, I don't want to like just work until I die. And it's so crazy. And I think that's why I really don't like a lot of the shame that people do in the finance world. I credit Dave Ramsey for the beginning of our financial journey. I still agree with some of the things that he teaches, but one thing that I'm not a huge fan of is how sometimes he takes this sort of like shaming approach. And honestly, I think there's a lot of times people just don't know. Yeah. Like, people just don't know.
I knew how to be a physical therapist.
Right. You're like, I just did the thing. Like, oh, like I took out $100 and something $1,000 for school for a $60,000 job. Like, they just like, I just didn't
like,
know.
It's off topic, but that should be illegal.
Yeah.
That's like probably a different conversation for like a whole different podcast, but like, no one tells you what going to school costs versus what you're going to make. And I always tell people, like, my little brother, he went to school to be a mechanic. He got out of school with no debt and was making like $21 an hour. And he had zero debt, and he was like 21 years old because it was a 20-month program, 22-month program, something like that. He was so smart to do that. And here I am, $85,000 in debt. And I got out and I was making $55,000 a year as a physical therapist. And you're just like, what? Like,
Yeah.
who's smart? Who's smart? Who's richer? Or like, who's wealthier? You know? And I was just like,
Yeah.
and that is when I was just like, that's a whole other thing, but there's just got to be a better way. We're too smart and we work too hard to get our master's or get our doctorate, and then to get out and feel trapped in a box that you created is a very lonely feeling.
Ooh.
Like, here I am. I worked so hard to create this box, go to school, get good grades, go to professional school, get a good job. And then one day you wake up and that's your reality. You did everything right and you're in a box and you feel stuck. And then you're like, I created this box and now I don't want to be in it anymore. Or it's not what I thought it was going to be. So what do? Go build a new box? Like, kudos to your friend who was like, I don't want to be a banker. I'm going to be a speech pathologist. Like, most people don't have the guts to do that. Most people don't have the guts to do network marketing or start their own business or go out on a limb and join a startup that's an app-based physical therapy company. But what I've learned over the last almost 4 years as a physical therapist is the most expensive thing you can have is a closed mind. And the most expensive thing you can have is a closed mind, but also don't say no to an opportunity until you KNOW exactly what you're saying no to. Because I said no, NO, to a network marketing business, an Arbonne business, before I ever even knew the income potential, before I ever even knew that it was coaching people to a healthier lifestyle, before I ever knew it was going to be coaching other people to also take a look at their box that they created and say, I want out. How do I get out? And now I get to help other people say, I'm not stuck in my box anymore. I'm going to go build this non-traditional out there. It's got a stigma. Some people will never cheer for you, but like, that's not who we do it for. Like, we do it for you. We do it for your box. Who's in your box? Like, who's getting out of your box with you? Like, I get to help other people see their life as, I just felt like it gave me hope. I never thought about network marketing. I honestly said heck no to it, but it's what blew the doors off for me when I say that it gave me hope. It gave me my passion for therapy back. And it also made me look at how can I invest my money so that it can work for me? Because with Arbonne, you invest your time in different places and then you earn money when you're not actually spending your time on it. And so that's kind of what like investing in my 401k or in my stocks or whatever my financial planner does with my money, really. My money is working for me and I'm not doing anything. Like, so my husband and I are always on this thing, like, where can our next stream of income be? Like, what's our next stream of income? And we're like, I'm like, before we're 30, we're going to have 7 streams of income, no matter what. Like, I want to have more because when one's down, one's up, and you just never know like what life's going to hand you. And so do not have a closed mind.
Gosh, I need to put that on a shirt or something. How like we work so hard to create the box that we're in. Oh, girl. That's like, there's a book title in there somewhere. I know you mentioned book
about it. And like, it breaks my heart. It doesn't even have to be therapy. It can be anything. Like, you know, my husband, when he was a teacher, so many people are, for lack of a better word, like they feel stuck being a teacher because they get this retirement that you work for 30 years or whatever. And then you get to retire at like whatever percentage of your best salary. And I'm like, how are people just like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And like, they hate it. And I talk to so many people, and I'm not knocking teachers. Some teachers love it. And like, my husband loved being a PE coach, but he had so much other crap that came along with it. And I'm like, so many people are a slave to the box that they created. And they think that because that's what they went to school for, or because that's the skills that they have at this point. I'm like, that's just like a slice of the pizza of your life, the skills you have right now. You know, like, what can you learn? What can you read? Like, there's like unlimited knowledge on the internet that you can learn for free. Like, you can literally do anything. You can start a podcast, you can start an Instagram account, and you can monetize it. Like, there are 1,000,001 ways to do something that you want to do. But most people, and this is what breaks my heart, aren't willing to do that for whatever reason. I don't know.
I think a big part of it is because like most of us that go into therapy are like in the box. Like, I think to get to that point, we're in the box people, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't go like buy, you know, $30,000 worth of Bitcoin instead of going to college. Like, that's not, and I don't, But I don't know if PT is like this. I can't speak for PT. I mean, not that I can fully speak for SLPs, but a lot of us are very like where SLPs are known for being type A. I am not type A. No, but a lot of us are known for being type A. And I think it's like, you do the things that you're supposed to do. And I think, I know PT is not nearly as female dominated as SLP is, but that's also something you see like, oh, like this is just what I'm supposed to, this is just what I do. And this idea of like questioning the status quo, like you don't get to be where you don't get into a master's program and through a master's program for speech pathology, and I'm sure it's similar for PT, by like ruffling people's feathers and questioning the status quo. You get there by standing in line where you're supposed to be, and you meet all the expectations that everybody else has for you. Like that's how you get there. And I think but I think that's what almost makes people kind of turn their heads a little bit, is because this box that I've been working in for so long to get where I'm at didn't get me where I wanted to be. And I want to clarify, and you mentioned it as well. If you're happy with not that this audience is teachers, but use the example of some teachers, like if you like that, that's cool. Like, I'm not saying you don't have to like it, but just like you said, like it breaks my heart when I hear these stories of people who are just miserable, like absolutely miserable. And it's like, okay, well, if you're not happy, we gotta conversate, boo. We gotta conversate.
I know. And I'm glad that you said that, because like when I started network marketing, it wasn't because I hated being a therapist. It wasn't because I hated where I worked. It wasn't because I hated who I worked with. I loved all of those things. I was just like, I don't want to work 9 to 5. I don't want to have to ask for time off, ask for vacation, spend my vacation in 3 weeks of year. If you get sick, like, dang, that's one of your days. Like, I didn't want to live like that. So I was really chasing a lifestyle that being a physical therapist wasn't going to, like, I wasn't going to get the lifestyle that like I wanted by just doing physical therapy.
In a traditional sense.
In a traditional sense.
I want to add that at like, so only using your physical therapy skills in the way that we were told to use them.
And go get a job in a clinic or in a hospital. Exactly. Yep. And I don't remember where I was going with that, but so many people just, I don't know. And there's so many other ways. Like there's so many companies that I've looked into that are virtual or app-based, or I've really looked at starting my own, physical therapy business. I've like looked into all of it, and I haven't said no to any of it because I won't say no again, because the one time I said like a hard no to something, I ate that all.
With a side of milk and cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So how do you, like, if someone, people who are listening, if they're kind of in a job who they're kind of where you were before you started doing network marketing and whatnot, and they're kind of like nervous, like they're feeling that pull, because I think we all get that way. Like those of us who are not happy with where we're at in like a job or whatever, we just sort of get that little like like pull in the back, like, hello, come over here. But they're afraid to listen to it. Like, what would you tell them, especially like for those types of people who are just they like things to be predictable? I think that's what people love about like a salary job, is like, I know I'm going to get this and I know I'm going to get this,
So I would say, like, I truly believe that like the tugs on our heart or our gut reactions to things, like you might be sitting here listening to this being like, oh, like that's just, ridiculous. Like I would never do that. Like if you have like such a visceral reaction to something, or even if it's just like that little like thing in your ear, like, is this it? Is this it? Like, I truly believe we need to listen to those things, because you might create like the next best version of physical therapy or the next best version of speech therapy. Like you could create the next product or start the new coaching business or, do whatever, but don't ever say no to something unless you know everything there is about that opportunity. And like I said, the most expensive thing you can have is a closed mind. And if you're willing to work at it and be consistent, and I am not saying like I just like waltzed into this network marketing company and like all this success like fell in my lap. Like I got up at 5 a.m. and sometimes I went to bed at 1 a.m. and like I did it all over again. Like some days that was not glamorous. Like no one wants to do that part of what I did, but they only see like where I am. And they're like, oh, you have this lifestyle that I would want. You have to like put in the work, no matter what avenue you do. Like network marketing was just like I don't want to say the easiest road for me to take, but it was the one that I could see myself succeeding at versus starting my own business or, whatever. So pay attention to that feeling in your stomach. And you literally have 5 seconds to either talk yourself into something or talk yourself out of something. Shout out to Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule. If you haven't read it, it's a great book. And so you have literally 5 seconds to let that little voice become doubt or courage, whichever one you want. And so I just want to invite you guys to like take courage for 5 seconds and do the thing, ask the question, raise your hand, press post, apply for the job, like start a new Instagram account and monetize your time. Like I have no idea what it is. And I was just telling Danny right before this, like, I don't want to get on here and just talk all about, my company with network marketing. I would just want to talk about like, there's so many avenues that people can explore if they're willing to look, they're willing to go there where not very many people are. And like I said, with this app-based physical therapy thing that I have coming down the pipeline, I am so excited about it. And I can't wait to share more about all of that. It's just all the I's are not dotted and the T's are not crossed yet. And so all I'm saying is like, if you're willing to look for something, and like when I talked to this company, they were like, we don't have like a pool of patients and not enough therapists to see the patients we have. She's like, we're trying to grow our business. So we're trying to bring on physical therapists who are willing to go out there and find their clients. And I'm like, oh my gosh, pick me, girl. Like that is what I do with my network marketing business. I go out and I don't want to say sell myself, but I sell myself. I sell my wellness knowledge. I sell these products because I'm so passionate about them. I sell the lifestyle and I help other people get out of their freaking box. And so I'm like, so I'm literally going to take this new physical therapy thing and be like, hey, I know when you normally go to physical therapy, you go and you sit in a waiting room and you wait, and then you go into a room and you sit one-to-one with your physical therapist. I'm going to bring that into your house. Like I'm going to bring that onto your phone where you can do it from wherever. If you're on a trip and you need to do PT, like you can still do PT from your phone. You don't have to like take a week off because you're out of town. So it's just selling the same thing that I do right now, but in a different way. And so when she said, we're like looking for an entrepreneur and a physical therapist, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're like a match made in PT heaven right now.
Yes. And I think it's about finding what you like finding, it doesn't have to be, yes, like we talked about network marketing on this episode because that's what you're doing, but like, it doesn't have to be that. Like it can be whatever it is that you want. And I think it really takes time. Like you need to think about yourself and what your strengths are.
I cannot remember who you interviewed because I'm not in the SLP world. So like I know like big wig physical therapists, but this was a girl you interviewed and she talked about opening her own like traveling speech pathology business where like it was like a certain machine or something that like traveled around. No.
Oh, Teresa Richards.
Yeah, maybe.
She's like a big SLP name, like huge SLP name.
I was listening to that and I was like, yes, she was tired of doing what everyone else was doing. She was tired of doing what she had been doing. And so she found a way to make her skills marketable on a large scale because she started a business that she moved across the country and her business was still going on. And she was just like managing it from afar. I cannot remember. It's gotta be the girl, right?
I think so. It was like a mobile business.
Yes.
It has to be Teresa Richard. It was like a mobile fees business.
Mobile fees business. Yes. I listened to the episode like 3 times because I was like, this girl gets it. She's not doing network marketing. Like, so for me, network marketing was like my vehicle. It was like my way to the life that I wanted. Hers was this mobile fees business, which I didn't even know anything about mobile fees, but I listened to that episode over and over because I was like, she gets it. She learned how to leverage her time, spend time doing what she needed to do. And she talks about having kids and doing all these things and being able to basically let someone else manage her mobile fees business for a while so she could do this thing. And I'm like, that's it. Like if I could like paint my picture, like years down the road, she did it. And she did it in a different way, but she basically said, I'm not going to settle for this. I'm going to figure it out. And now she's like a super successful, like, oh my gosh, like whatever. And I'm like, that's it.
I love it. That's it. And yes, Teresa Richard is like a huge, like she's a huge in the SLP space, but it's because like, and I'm glad that you bring her up because like, yes, she's very much out of the box. If you guys haven't listened to that episode, it's like one of the first 5 or 6 episodes of the podcast. It's fabulous. You need to go listen to it, obviously. But yes, yeah. So here's my question for you. Because I get DMs from people a lot. Like, I think people like they've had their I've had it moment. And I think a lot of us can think of that moment. My I have had it moment was whenever my boss at my previous job, who like one of my big specialties is dyslexia intervention. I have a certification for it. And the specialty at the particular clinic was like reflex integration. Okay, which is all great. But whenever my I've had it moment is when I approached my boss saying like I had concerns about short sessions, that like it was really difficult for me to do it in 30 minutes and I needed 45-minute sessions. I was told, oh, well, the OTs can treat them for that with reflex integration. And I was like, it was very much like, oh, that's sweet that you have your thing that you like, but like, nah, that's fine. And that was and that was 100% like my I've had it moment. Like, everybody can remember that moment. And that was definitely my moment. Where it's basically like, like we might be able to do this, but I'm mostly going to need you to just suck it up. So whatever.
Like, so I'm going to ask you a question about that. Like, you were at a fork in the road at that moment, and you could either be like, okay, well, I guess that's the OT's job and I'm going to figure out how to do my session in 30 minutes. But I don't want to say like you got mad, but you were like, okay, I didn't go to school for this. This can't be all that there is. I have more to offer my patients. And so you went and found a way to do that, right? Like,
oh yeah, no, I was pissed. You're so sweet. You were mad.
It is.
I was pissed.
It's timing for so many people. Like, there were so many times where I was asked or offered or introduced to the exact thing that I do now, but I hadn't had my fork in the road. So, maybe you're listening to this and you're like, I love being a speech pathologist, or I love therapy. Like, I can't believe those girls are talking about like coming to a point where they like wanted more and this like wasn't enough. And I hope you never get to that point and that you're truly that on fire for therapy and your patients and where you work, because I was that way. But when you do have your fork in the road, and maybe it'll be when you have kids, or maybe it'll be when you have to miss a soccer game or spelling bee because you have to work. Like, I don't know what that fork in the road is. I'm just using some of my, girls on my team, things that they were like, this was it for me. Like, I knew I had to do something different because I missed a soccer goal or whatever. Once you have that, I just want you to know that that is not the end of the road. Like, you don't have to just go on and keep doing what you're doing and sacrificing whatever your thing is. Mine was being outside like at 1 p.m. on a Monday if I wanted to. Like, that was my thing. And that seems so dumb, but just know when you come to the fork in the road, like, you have a choice. Like, you can either keep going and do whatever your boss wants you to do, or do whatever is like the norm required of you at your job, do your job duties, or you can say, there's got to be a different way, whether that's another job, whether that's a network marketing business, whether that's owning your own practice, whether that's monetizing your Instagram or starting a podcast, or heck, I don't know. It could be anything. And like, that's what I love to empower people, is that you are not stuck. You are not struggling. You can make a different choice. Like, you can do something else. And that's like my biggest thing that I tell everyone. Like, you don't have to do what I do in network marketing, but like, don't stay stuck and stay miserable, because that's your choice.
And I think a lot of us, for whatever reason, this idea of like misery loves company, a lot of us will just, which that has never been my personality type. So I can't necessarily say like how I like overcame that or something, because that's never been my deal. But like, I can't just like, talking about it isn't enough for me. So like, when that moment happened, I was very, very upset. I was extremely upset. But I think sometimes like our tendency is to like go like talk about it with our friends and coworkers, which a lot of times is not a good idea. First of all, well, at least not like your coworkers, first of all, just like for professional reasons. But I think it's like, okay, stay with me, Allie. We're visualizing. I think it builds and it builds and it builds. And then when you're about to explode, you go have that like venting conversation with your coworker, your spouse, or your friend, and it's like, and you let a little bit of air out. So you're not ready to explode yet. It's still like big though. And then something else happens. You miss a soccer game or whatever. And then it goes big, very big. And then you go have that little moment where you like complain to your friends and everything is, and I know for me, that cycle has never been a thing for me because that just pisses me off. Like I can't, I can't, that does not work for me and my personality. And I'm wondering if that's part of like what some entrepreneurs have in common is this idea that like, that we just like, we need to take some sort of action and encouraging others to take action.
That is the best. That is like the best example, like watching you make your hands go like this. I know your listeners can't see that, but that is so true. And I've honestly been the kind of person that lets things build up until you just explode. Maybe not like with work, but I've always been like, okay, I want to be the best at whatever I do, but I also want to be achieving something. Like I want to have a goal. And so when I got done with physical therapy school and I realized like, this is the goal, and I just started to be like, wait, like, what's the next thing I'm going to achieve? And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, so I never really had that like buildup of moment, like with where I was working. I mean, I only worked there 3 months before I started my Arbonne business. So I didn't really have that big of a time, but it wasn't like anything anyone around me was doing. It was just that I was inside when I wanted to be outside and like, I wasn't okay with it. And I feel you. People looking at me being like, what are you doing? Like my dad was like, I call my dad like, hey, I'm starting this business network. I'm going to be a network marketing professional. Like I'm going to be in the top 1%, and I was so excited, like ignorance on fire or whatever it's called. And my dad was like, have you lost your mind? And I'm like, my dad is like my hype man. Like I call my dad like, and he's like, you're literally like, are you okay? Like, have you been drinking? And I was like, I'm like on the phone, like looking at the phone, like he can't see me. And I'm like, Dad, I'm like really excited about this. Like, I'm going to be in the top 1%. Like, I'm going to make this happen. And he's like, Allie, you just started being a physical therapist. Like you have this very demanding job. You're taking all these courses so that you can get certified. And like, you're not stressed about that. And like, I could feel his stress, and he's like, and you're planning a wedding and you're getting married. And like, how are you going to have time for this? And I don't want to have to pick you up off the floor when it doesn't work out. And I was like, all right, Dad, I love you, but I got to go. And
cancel.
I didn't have that good of like mindset at that point. I was like, go to my husband. I'm like, am I doing the wrong thing? My dad thinks I'm insane. And I'm not talking about it with my dad. Like my dad will tell you, he's like, that's a real conversation. And he also said to me, like, it would have been the most expensive mistake you ever made when I thought I was giving you advice to protect you. So if someone else, like your best friend or your dad or whoever, like is your hype person and they don't see your vision or they don't understand where you're coming from, do not let that squash your vision. Like use it as fuel. I was like, I'm going to show him. I'm going to prove it. Like I am going to get out there. I'm going to work 10 times harder because I'm not going to let my dad be right. You know what I mean? So, and I think that so many people, when you start your own business or you go out on a limb, people that are really close to you, they want to protect you. They love you so much that they're like, Danny, that's going to be a lot of debt you're going to go in that business. Like, what if you have a slow month and you don't have enough patience? And, what are you going to do if someone can't pay their bill and then you're out all this money and la, la, la. And like, it comes from such a place of scarcity, but protection. Like people love you so much. They don't want you to ever have something that fails. So they would rather you just stay where you are instead of failing or, even going through a hard time in your new thing or whatever. And so that's the other thing I tell people is like the people that are closest to you, they do not see your vision until you make it come true. And they're going to protect you. And sometimes that looks like telling you not to do it or telling you not to go against the grain or whatever. And so if you have a vision or you have that tug on your heart to do something different, like I want to encourage you to be so steadfast in that vision that you'll do whatever it takes to make it come true so other people can see it. Because until it's true, like until it's reality, no one sees your vision.
Oh yeah. I mean, and you can't, now I'm not talking about validating a product or like if you're trying to make money by selling something, I'm not talking about validating that, but like if you're trying to go out and do your own thing and be outside of the box, like you cannot rely on the validation of others thinking like, oh, that's a great idea. Again, I'm not saying like validating a product that you're trying to sell or a service you're trying to sell. I was talking about like your friends and family. Like, I'll tell you this, Allie, like nobody, like my friends know I have a podcast because they found out not like my mom doesn't, my parents, my in-laws, like they have no idea what I'm doing with this like internet online thing. If they asked, I would tell them, but like they have absolutely no idea what I was doing. And if I told them, they would be like, yeah, what? especially with just how the online space has exploded and there's so much opportunity that sort of like traditional, like go to college, get the degree 9 to 5 thing. You don't have to, now more than ever, you don't have to do that, or you don't have to do only that. And so I love that you made that point of just like, you can't, like, people are not going to just like like everyone patted you on the back for going to PT school. Everybody patted me on the back for going to SLP school. Like, oh my gosh, like you already got a master's degree. Like,
but as soon as you wanted to do something bigger than what working for someone else and getting a salary and putting money into a 401k so you can retire when you're 55 and live on a budget for the rest of your life. Not that living on a budget is bad, but like, as soon as you said, I'm going to start my own business, I'm going to own my own time and I'm going to figure it out, people are like, oh, honey. But the best advice I've ever read in a book, and I don't know what book I read it in, but no one more successful than you and no one who is working harder than you is going to be judging you or talking about what you're doing. So like, that's what I've always told myself in the beginning, like no one else is stepping out and no one else is stepping into the match but me. Like I'm the only one that's going on this road. So like no one work. And like, that's what I love about this is like, you're an entrepreneur, you know, you're not trying to get me to do speech. I'm not trying to get you to do what I'm doing, but like, I have met so many entrepreneurs in this space that work 100% on Instagram or online with a personal training business or whatever. And it started as a little thing that they built on the side of their job that paid their bills until it became a big thing. And then they had to make a really big, scary decision if they were going to walk away from their salary to build their dream. I have so many friends like that and that I met on Instagram. I love Instagram. Meet the most awesome people, but like-minded people, like you have to surround yourself with that. Like, that's why I follow you. That's why I listen to your podcast. That's why, you know, my friend Annie, who has a personal training business that she built 100% during the pandemic online, never went back to her other, you know, gym that she worked at as a personal trainer. I love being surrounded by those types of people because they think like me, they think bigger, they don't settle for the status quo. And I don't want to settle for the status quo. Like I want, like, you know, I don't know what my next thing is going to be, but I know there will be something else because when you hang out with people that think bigger, do bigger things, invest their time, give more to people, you know, whatever it is, you're going to start to become the product of, you know, who you hang out with or what you consume. And what you consume is not just food. It's on social media. It's in your ears with music or podcasts. And so I don't listen to music anymore. Oh, I know it's terrible. I only listen to podcasts like 95% of the time. I work out and I plays music. Like I go to a class, like I take classes. So for that hour, like I'm listening to whatever music is on because they're playing it. But like I listen to podcasts. That's what I choose to consume. I'm sure you do the same thing. Listen to a lot of podcasts. In order to start a podcast, you have to listen, I feel like, to tons and tons of podcasts. To be like, yeah, I have a lot of things to say too.
You know, surprisingly, starting a podcast is not as difficult as you think it would be, honestly. And that's the thing, like, even with this podcast, like people were listening to it. Like, I just like decided one day I want to start a podcast and I cold messaged people on Instagram and was like, hey, can I interview you? Wink, wink.
I love that. And you never knew it was going to turn into this.
No, absolutely not. And I think it's just, and you really need to think about what you're good at and what you enjoy. Like I love talking to people. I love conversations. Like I really enjoy that. Like I don't love writing. Like I can do it, I can make it good, but like, that's not something that comes like super natural to me. So it was just the idea of like, you need to figure out what your strengths are. Like I recommend to people all the time to take the Enneagram test or the Myers-Briggs test, like taking those things just to give you a little bit of like introspection is so important. Like not just career-wise, but also like financial wise. Like that's actually something that's going to be part of the budget course that I have coming out, is like taking a little bit, like taking some time to have like some introspection and like figuring out your personality type and what you like.
Oh, that's cool. I thought you were about to say it was going to have like your Enneagram, budgeting for your Enneagram number, because 7s are screwed.
Oh, that's a really good idea though.
Oh, see, there you go. Like,
okay.
Can you just make a book like, or podcast or something, budgeting for 7s, because it's bad. I just want everyone to have a good time. I just want everyone to have a good time and like everyone to be having fun, or like I want to be the person that like, I'm going on a trip and my husband can't go. Like I want to be able to pay for the person to go with me because I want to go on the trip and I want everyone to have fun. Like that's,
but that can just be in your budget, girl. Like,
no, Enneagrams for 7s.
Okay, there we go. All right. You got my next.
You can just put this book was created for Allie Haas.
Love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, okay, Allie, this has been so much fun. I can't believe, I'm just so glad that I had you on just to give this like unique perspective and just giving people like a swift kick in the hiney. Because I really think that's what some of us need, whether that's in the form of a podcast. For me, whenever I was thinking about starting my private practice, listening to Jenna Castor-Casbon's Private Practice Stories podcast, that was my kick in the hiney. For those of you listening, I'm hoping that everything that you're hearing from Allie is being a little bit of like a wajonk up in your booty area. But before I be respectful of your time and let you go, is there any like last piece of like inspiration or something out of all, because I mean, I know you've read like all the self-help books. I love them too. Like I love like Gretchen Rubin, I know Brene Brown. Oh my gosh, they're fabulous. Love them. She's making love signs on the video in case you guys
love Brene Brown. Like one of my favorite quotes of hers is, you can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you can't have both. And that is yeah, Brene Brown. I know exactly who said that one because she's my fave too. But if
she's a podcast now.
I know.
She's got a podcast.
I know. I love her. I love her so much.
She's so great. I don't even, okay, where was I? Oh yeah. Do you have any last things that you want to tell everybody out there?
I mean, honestly, the one thing I could say is, which I've said it multiple times, like the most expensive thing you can have is a closed mind. Like, don't second guess yourself to the point that you stay where you're at when you're not where you want to be. Like, you are a product of your thoughts, and your thoughts become your things, and your things become your reality. So like, if you don't like your reality, you have to change your thoughts, and you have to start consuming different things and go for it. Because this is the thing, you can keep doing what you're doing for the next 25 years. And if you're happy with that and you're fully content and fulfilled, go do your thing, girl. If you're not, if you try something new, if you try a podcast or you try whatever, and you fall flat on your face, then you're exactly where you are right now, but with more experience. If you fail, then you learn and then you go again, or maybe you do a different thing, or you learn something along the way that's going to get you where you want to go. But if you never try, you never know. And the worst thing you can do is be in the same place next year with not trying anything else.
Ooh, like Allie, you keep swinging me tonight. Like I'm feeling like me 3 years ago would have felt very seen after all of this. Like
me 3 years ago would have been like, I gotta turn this thing off.
Right. Like I'm feeling convicted. This is not good. Oh, well, okay, Allie, really quick, where, I know all of your information is going to be in the show notes, but just really quick for everybody listening out there, where's going to be the best place for people to find you?
I would say the best place to find me is on Instagram. It's super easy at Allie.Haas. You can look it up in the show notes how to spell that, but that's the best place to learn everything I'm doing with physical therapy right now. There's going to be more to come about my new app-based physical therapy that I'm so excited about. And that's where you can learn all about my health and wellness coaching and being an entrepreneur.
Yes, I love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was fabulous.
This was fun.
Yeah, this was so fun.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And whenever, would you be open for a part 2? When things like, we'll do a part 2. That's, hey, listeners, we're gonna do a part 2. I'm manifesting it. It's on my vision board.
Yes.
All right, Allie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to hear more no fluff, getting the dang thing done stuff from myself and other real life SLPs, be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or pledge a small amount on patreon.com/SpeechGoods. If you found this content valuable, please share it with others so we can get this message out there. And if you haven't already, join us on Instagram. Handle is @SpeechGoods. See you there.